Hello, I'm MicheleMarieDalene of the North American Snow Queen, and today we're going to be talking about actually several parts. It's not going to be a single part on making successful videos on YouTube. Now, wanted to do this for a while because of a lot of reasons. A lot of people do videos on YouTube, and some of them are great, some of them suck, and some people just want to know how to get the best out of what they have. This is one of the few times I actually have a syllabus which we're going to use. And the first one is, what is video? Well, video is to take, in this case, using a camera that records an image electronically, and that is then later presented as an electronic image on a CRT or LCD or plasma display. Therefore, video is the actual digital process of transferring picture from point A, that's here, to your home, which is point B. Now, the next one is types of equipment. I'm going to talk about the equipment types because you might see a lot of different kinds of cameras. And let me be honest on equipment. It don't matter what kind of equipment you use. It's not the part that is important. This is this. You need to get comfortable with what you have. So first, we're going to discuss amateur equipment. Is, for the most part, usually is the equipment you find that's inexpensive. Might be able to find it at a local pharmacy, such as CVS, Walgreens, things like that. Basically, it's not really necessarily the greatest. It'll get you there. There's many examples of inexpensive video gear you can buy. Typically, the resolutions of most is usually around the range of 640 by 480, and it records onto usually a secure digital medium devices. Now, while we are talking about video, we might as well talk about the film equipment too, because after all, I started my career in film. I did not start my career in video. So for that reason, let's talk about the consumer film gear. A good example of an inexpensive piece of film gear that would be considered amateur would be a home 8mm or Super 8 video camera that has pretty much automatic exposure. It doesn't really need any kind of custom controls. Basically, you point, you shoot, as long as you got the right set for the right on the camera, the right exposure, such as the type of film base. In the case of Super 8, that's usually done by the cartridge itself that will automatically set the filter and all that stuff. So therefore, for you, the camera is pretty much, basically just like in this case, just like the consumer grade video gear is pretty much no much adjustments to do. Then there's the next level, semi-professional, or sometimes known as prosumer. Prosumer grade equipment is a little more fancy. This camera that I'm using is in this league of prosumer gear. That is, the cameras give more control to deal with things like exposure, aperture, shutter speed, white balance, focus. It's a bit more expensive and in most cases a little more finicky to adjust and get set for the best results. Prosumer equipment is often a bit more expensive. However, depending on how you want to go about it and what you consider prosumer, you could probably get something such as a digital single lens reflex for maybe about $500 to a nice digital video camcorder such as a HDV or DV cam, for maybe about secondhand, maybe for about 100 to 150. This equipment tends to be a lot more expensive because there's more features to it that makes it more adjustable. Much of it offers things such as interchangeable lenses, manual and automatic exposure indices, and things like that. In the case of film-based equipment, that would be something like a Bolex H16 camera where you can have interchangeable film lenses, interchangeable motor drives, crystal sync, and things like that. Or even like the Bell & Howell Filmo 16, like the one I have, is also in that league of prosumer. Professional equipment is definitely much bigger and much more expensive. This includes very fancy studio cameras by Ikami, or even big professional cameras and lenses for 35mm film gauge, such as Panavision lenses and full-size movie cameras, and the 35mm film gauge, 65mm film gauge, and things like that if you're going to go with film. Cost a lot, weigh a lot, and basically require the user to be fully conversant into how it all works. Which, unfortunately, given the price, given the cost of consumables, in the case of a 35mm professional grade movie camera, you're probably not going to want to go there. In the case of high definition cameras that shoot in 1080i and 1080p, full manual automatic adjustments, interchangeable lenses and things like that for digital video, shoots usually in very high grade video stock such as HDV. Very, very pricey. If you want that, it's going to cost you. But for most people on YouTube, you're probably not going to go there, because unless you've already got the equipment elsewhere. So if you do, well, that's great. That certainly is the first thing. Now we have a basic general idea of what we call consumer, prosumer, and professional cameras. And then, of course, how to create a good video. First of all, we got to create a topic. When I say a topic, this video is a good example. I have created a topic to discuss creating a good video. That's my topic. The next thing you're going to need to do in addition to creating your topic is answer a few more questions, such as create a script or storyboard. I have my syllabus. That is my script. I have my actors and actresses. That's important. How many people are going to be playing your characters in your story? If it's a story like a screenplay, you're going to probably have more than one person on set. And for that reason, you need to have sure all the actors and actresses are on the same page of who's going to say what lines, when they're going to say their lines, their entrances and exit points. And that, again, is important, that everybody be on the same page. If you're just one person, such as I am, in a small room, you're not going to really need to worry quite as much about all that detail. But some of the other points I'm going to discuss do count, such as sets and props. Okay? Now, when I do my videos, they're pretty simple. Okay? You got me, I'm sitting in a chair, I got a microphone in front of me. Okay? I have a desk where I can put my paper, or my cats like to jump out on, or my coffee for that matter. That's my prop. But maybe your screenplay is going to be involving a set that's more complicated. Maybe it's going to be involving a series of sets. It can be placed for each take or each scene. Now, if you're going to do that, you're going to need to have set designers, and you're going to have people who can rig the sets up, put them in place, what have you. Okay? And that gets a little more time consuming, but again, your storyboard needs to put all of that into consideration. Also, I recommend that for the first time video that you ever do, is keep your takes or your acts, if you want to call them acts, you want to break it down into play terminology, of less than 10 minutes apiece. Back when I was using film, the average film lasted me about 2.5 to 3 minutes long. That meant in 2.5 to 3 minutes long for a 100-foot roll of 16mm film, I had to tell a story. And I had to keep my story simple and to the point. I didn't want to rush through the story, but I sure the heck didn't want to have to keep doing retakes, because that kept costing me more and more money, as I would then have to, then not only would I have to send that film to the photo processing lab to be developed, I also would then have to take those segments and cut them and paste them together and make those segments into a cohesive part. So one way to do it is to take your scenes, which are smaller than acts, take your scenes and keep them less than 2 to 3 minutes. That way, if you're shooting film, and assuming you don't have to do multiple retakes, you can put one scene onto a reel of film, or you can get a couple scenes and a few takes onto a 16-minute digital video cassette cartridge, or onto high 8 or digital 8, whatever media you choose. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. And that's going to be another topic in a few minutes. We'll be discussing that about analog versus digital. The next one is camera angles and the number of cameras. And lighting. Okay, now originally lighting was the next type of, and cameras kind of go together. Typical, if you have a static background like this, you can use what they call 3-point lighting. Okay? You have your key light, which is the one straight ahead of me, my hair light, which is right here, and the background light, which is over there. Okay? The idea is you want your set to be lit and lit well. Plus, I got the sun's coming in through my window over here in front of me, and we also have over my head here, there's a skylight as well. So we have some daylight as well coming in to help fill in the planks. Unfortunately, that kind of messes up exposure a bit, but that's okay. Camera angles and the number of cameras. For the first time you're going to be doing a YouTube video, you want to keep it simple. Okay? That is, you're probably going to have one camera, and you're probably going to have one camera position. In my case, that's what I have here. I have one camera straight ahead of me looking at me. Okay? That's my camera. Okay? Now, if you're going to start going crazy, having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 cameras, and you're going to start doing it like the big boys do, having multiple cameras, multiple monitors, big fancy mixing, editing rooms, and all this, if you've never done that, you don't want to go there until you've understand the one camera perspective down. If you can get the one camera perspective down, and then if you really want to spend that kind of money in that multiple camera perspectives and simple editing, because the editing for that is a lot more complicated than it is if you're just using one camera the whole shot, because you got to worry about things like time code, time bases, and obviously you got to make sure that all the cameras are in sync as far as the horizontal, vertical signals and everything, especially if it's analog based, which means you might have a central sync generator. Again, we're talking more in the prosumer and professional gear. On amateurs, probably you're not going to get that kind of precision, and you're going to start seeing your frames get a little kind of jerky. So you want to, again, get familiar with doing things from one camera angle, and don't worry about trying to be, George Lucas. We got planning to do your epic production like Star Wars and stuff like that. If you've never done a video on YouTube, or if you've only just done simple things like showing your daughter's birthday or your son's birthday, then you're not ready to go to creating a Star Wars production. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Take your time. Sound. Just like with camera angles, some people get a little carried away with the number of microphones that they think is necessary for a good production. It doesn't help any when they see all these big fancy movie shoots on TV or even in the news, and they see that the newscaster has a microphone clipped to his tie, and then his co-anchor has one clipped to her tie, and you can't see it. There's a boom microphone hanging down from the ceiling, and there's all that. So let's keep it simple. The concept of one microphone per person is certainly a doable approach. It gets rid of a lot of background noise. The problem is when you start getting more than one microphone, most consumer equipment's built-in microphone is all you got. Okay? Now, if you're going to go external microphones, assuming your consumer gear gives you that capability, you're still pretty much going to be limited to one microphone per person. Okay, one microphone for the whole set. Now, there are ways to fix that problem, but for the sake of argument, for when you're first starting out, trying to handle one microphone on a shoot is probably going to be a pretty good way to start. There's different kinds of microphones. Okay, now this is a cardioid. A cardioid microphone looks kind of like this. That is, you have a round, which is the area in front of the microphone here, and then it clips off up back here. Okay, so that means it'll get the sound from here to here, but some of the noise farther back from the set, it's not going to hear the sound of the cars, the traffic of the road, because that's the nature of the cardioid microphone. There's also omnidirectional microphones, which for some people may seem like a great choice. An omnidirectional microphone means it picks up sound from all directions, pretty much a full 360 degree sphere, because please remember we're talking about a three-dimensional condition. So think of a cardioid microphone like an apple, where it's been, or a rubber ball that's been squished, okay? And a omnidirectional microphone as a full apple or ball sitting on top of a microphone. This gets sound from all directions. Unfortunately, that means you hear the noise of the cars, you hear the noise of my refrigerator, you hear the noise of anything else in the room, and in some cases that's fine. But unfortunately, with that means you lose sensitivity. A typical omnidirectional microphone loses sensitivity in its pickup pattern because it can't sort of magnify the gain, which would in this case be in front of you, the microphone. Then there's something called hypercardioid. A hypercardioid is like this microphone, where the cardioid pattern, instead of looking like an apple, looks more like a carrot. That is, the pointy end is facing down towards the microphone stem, and the bushy part of the carrot is in the right where the mouthpiece is. The problem with a hypercardioid is it's not going to really be good for acting, because if you're going to be having actors and they're going to be you want to keep your microphones out of the sight of the audience. Remember, we talked about microphones. I'm only going to go on one more discussion about different microphone types, what you might see on a set. The shotgun. The shotgun mic is a pretty good mic overall. It's long. They come in different lengths. Okay, you got some that give a pretty broad view like this, and you got some that get a little tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. That focusing is done by the length of the barrel, just like on a shotgun. Just like in a shotgun, like a duck gun, a long duck barrel is going to give a more direct straight true shot than a small sawed-off shotgun will. There's a lot of acoustical properties that makes that happen, but I don't think we need to go there right now. But the choice of microphone that a typical YouTuber is going to be dealing with is either one of two microphones. One, the microphone that's built into your camera, or two, you might have an external microphone like this one here, and you're probably only going to maybe have one or two microphones. Okay? Now, that's pretty much it. I mean, we can go into more discussion and details of how to wire them up and how to electrically hook them up. That's beyond the point of this simple beginning. Now, number two. We're going to be discussing, and this will be another video. We'll go into more. We'll be showing some of this stuff. But actually, I already got some of this recorded. Getting your creation from the set to the computer. Now, analog input versus direct digital input. My studio is analog, okay? Pretty much right up until it gets to the Formac FS10 Studio. It is analog. I shoot in standard definition PAL. 25 frames per second, 720 by 576. Okay, that's just the way I shoot. Okay, that's the choice I made, is to shoot in PAL. The Formac FS10 Studio takes that video and converts it into DV at PAL at 720 by 576. And that video then is saved as a hard drive file. So the key piece, in my case, is the Formac FS10 Studio has to take the video that's coming from my analog camera through analog cables and analog sound and has to convert that into a video source. That means that your things about that is going to matter, which has to do, and this is important for analog, the cables. The cable has to be very good cables. You want to make sure that they're good and shielded. You want to make sure that the connections are tight. And most important of all, you want to make sure that the wires are not loose as a goose. Obviously, because that's going to affect things such as the signal quality, such as capacitance, resistance, and things like that. Digital video cables usually are thinner, usually lighter, and they're not as fussy about details. And the video direct-to-video thing, the camera itself is plugged right into the computer. The audio cord may be plugged right into the camera. Again, the camera is acting kind of like the Formac FS10. From the very beginning, it takes that video and then through FireWire or through USB, sends that video as a digital stream straight down into your hard drive. Many cameras also record, such as many consumer and prosumer grade equipment, will record the video on secure digital or onto an internal hard drive within the camera itself, which you can later store or capture into a format that you can save on your hard drive of your computer. So therefore, there is advantages and disadvantages to each. So whichever one you choose, it's okay. As long as it works for you, that's all that matters. And after all, you're not worrying about spending millions of dollars on a set here or fancy equipment. The important thing I want to always make sure is you want to try to get the video and get the story told and get it in the best quality as you can. Which leads us to the next topic, cables. Cables, where we mentioned, you don't necessarily need to buy the most expensive cables, but you don't want to buy the cheapest shitty ones either. You want to kind of buy the ones in the middle, especially for analog. You need a better cable for analog. I use RG6 cables. Some people use RG59, and some people don't use either one, and they use Category 5 and BLMs and all kinds of fancy stuff. I wouldn't go there, but that's up to you. That's your choice. Now, lenses. I'm using a C-mount lens, and you will see in one of my videos, which kind of accompanies this topic, I show you both the camera I use and the lenses I use. I'm using movie camera lenses for a 16mm camera. It's a C-mount lens. It is mounted on my analog camera that I use here in the studio, which is actually a prosumer grade security camera, believe it or not. It's only a camera. It is not a camcorder. It does not have the ability to record things to tape built in. In fact, it certainly can store the video on a VCR, or it can certainly record to a DVD recorder, but it does not have that built in, so therefore those are external devices. Again, that's an advantage to that concept of components versus all-in-ones, which is that I can mix and match the hardware to my needs. Now, the whole idea of filters, however, has kind of been lost in this day of digital processing. For example, some filters that you may not use as much anymore is color balancing filters. But you might still want the special effects filters like the star filters and multi-image filters and prismatic filters and things like that. But most people wouldn't use the color correction filters, or you can certainly still use them if you choose to, but make sure that, because most cameras have automatic white balance in it, if you can turn off the white balance on your camera, you can at least use the features to give the special effects for what the filters could do. For example, you could take a daytime shot and make it look like it's night by just choosing a deep blue filter over the lens. You will need, of course, to adjust the turn off the white balance, and you will need to make sure that the auto exposure is turned off as well to allow you to manually preset everything so it would look like in your viewfinder that it's a nice dark night scene. In addition to that, now the next topic we're going to talk about, it's getting late. Editing and uploading to YouTube. Choice of editor is a personal thing. Some people like iMovie 9, some people like iMovie 6, some people like Final Cut Pro, some people like Final Cut Express. Some people like none of the above. Some people like using, coming up with their own way of doing it. It's a personal thing. It's just like religion. Some people like one thing, some like another, and it's okay. The important thing is quality has to go in. That's what's most important. So as long as your video is the quality you like and it looks good, that's fine with me. I don't care what you use. Saving clips to an archive. Sometimes when you're working with videos enough times, you might find that it took an outtake and you say, gee, I don't want to use this at a later time. I want to start building a library of clips so that I can pull back, even though it's rejected for this project, I can later use in another project. That's not a problem. Think of that like some people, even in the professional video studios who do the same thing, they have collections of outtakes that they'll save on a file so they can go back to them and maybe later use them, maybe part of a special anniversary edition of a DVD or what have you. You can certainly do the same thing, and the only thing is it's going to take space. And if space is the final frontier for you, then you might have no choice but to consider storing the clips. If you are going to do it on DVD or maybe even in the cloud, however you do it, if you choose to do it that way, that's fine. It's your choice. I don't usually do that because most of the time, me and Lummy have reshot the same video so many times that most of the time it doesn't really make much of a doggone difference which way we do about it. The next one after that is uploading it to YouTube. Okay, now when you upload videos to YouTube, there's so many different things that I want to discuss here with this because this is always going to be helpful. Video format choices. YouTube lets you save as MP4s. You can save as QuickTime MOVs. You can send videos up as iPhone videos. You can send videos up as, I don't know about APIs, but the point is there's a lot of choices. The thing I do is I send my videos up as MP4s in PAL. And I render them down as 768 by 576 at 25 frames per second. Since my sound is really monaural, there's no reason to do it stereo. If I do, it's just because I forget to change it to mono. and I make sure you select it is for streaming, and also select optimize for streaming server. That makes YouTube's life a lot easier. It doesn't really make a difference. It's a little bit longer for me, but it's not really much of a difference. The description of your video is going to be a key piece. You want to have your video description is going to tell. You want to tell enough what the video is about. You don't need to tell. You're not writing a book here. Okay. So, for example, my video description for this site would be is introduction to creating good videos for YouTube's. Okay, and then I'll have my contact information, like how to reach me, email addresses, things like that. Then we have the categories of the video. Now, YouTube has many different types of categories. Try to pick the category that best chooses the video. So if your video is about your cats playing, choose one about pets. If your video is on technology, such as explaining how to upgrade a hard drive in your computer, then computers and technology might be the category you want to go. If the video is on making good video, well, then look under photography. And the whole point is pick the topic that best fits. Also, YouTube has things called tags. Tags are these little words or groups of words. The better the tags, the more of them that is appropriate for your video, the more likely it's going to be seen by more people. Bad tags and bad description has resulted in many videos on YouTube being orphaned. So if you're looking to get your video out there and you want people to see it, use a good topic, use a good tag, and make your video really stand out from the crowd. Which means sometimes that means you need to approach it just like Francis Ford Coppola, just as a good producer, a good director, and a good editor does. Do you want to take your raw footage and turn that into something that says, wow? If you want your video to succeed on a website that's got millions, if not millions of videos uploaded a day, you have to think outside the basic box. Okay? And that is important. And don't worry if your first video sucks. You know what? Everybody's going to have one or two really bad ones at the first. That's okay. Keep working on it. Keep practicing. Keep experimenting with new ideas. It's okay. No one's going to hurt you. Anyway, I'm going to be putting another video up along with this one that talks about my equipment. And that will be, I'm going to add that video onto YouTube as well. So you can see that video. This is going to be part of a series. And so I will upload that one as describing my video, or getting a video from the set to the hard drive. You will see it on here on my band channel. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you got any ideas or even complaints, let me know. I will do my best to fix any flaws that may have happened. Okay? Bye-bye, everybody.